The way that heaven is depicted in the Quran is as a celestial garden, this sort of garden up in the sky. And it's depicted as having various rungs or tiers. And the Quranic view was that the Garden of Eden is actually the lowest tier of this celestial garden of heaven. So this is unlike in the Hebrew Bible, where the Garden of Eden is somewhere actually on earth in the Middle East. And so in the Quranic imagination, when Adam and Eve are expelled from the garden, they fall from heaven to earth. And there are various medieval legends about where it is that Adam and Eve actually landed, and different places are suggested. But one very famous legend is that they landed on the island of Sri Lanka, particularly on the top of this mountain called Sri Pada, the fourth tallest mountain in Sri Lanka, which has this 1 meter high footprint that Buddhists venerate as having been a footprint of the Buddha. Hindus say that it's a footprint of Shiva, and Muslims say that it's the footprint of Adam. So this mountain, Sri Pada, is also known as Adam's Peak for that reason. And in the extended mythology of Adam and Eve in expulsion in South Asia, there's a whole series of legends that have Adam and Eve walking from Sri Lanka to India. And all the events of Cain and Abel take place here in India, and ending up in North India, where they have their third son, Seth. And there used to be this big mosque in Ayodhya in far north India, which was said to have been built on the burial place of Seth, the third son of Adam and Eve. So there's a whole set of legends in India about Muslim legends about what happened to Adam and Eve. How did Adam and Eve actually walk from Sri Lanka to India? Well, there's this feature, this geological feature. It's called the Polk Strait Isthmus, which connects this far South Indian city of Rameswaram with Mannar in northeastern Sri Lanka. And for a long time, this bridge was actually something that people and animals could walk across, right? It's actually how animals and people originally got to Sri Lanka. And it gradually deteriorated over time. But there is a Hindu set of legends associated with this bridge, Adam's Bridge, that Hindus say even predates Adam and Eve, right? So this is moving over to Hindu mythology. The bridge in this account is an important feature of the Hindu epic of the Ramayana, the story of Ram. This is the story of the seventh incarnation of Vishnu as Rama, this king of North India, uh, who is expelled temporarily from the throne, and he has to go into exile in the forest with his wife Sita and his brother Lakshman, during which time the demon king of Lanka, Ravana, comes and abducts Rama's wife. And the whole drama of the story is that Rama and his brother Lakshman have to go and retrieve Sita from Lanka. And along the way, they meet Hanuman, this monkey god who's a great devotee of Rama, and Hanuman's Vanarsane, his monkey army, and the monkey army builds a stone bridge from India to Lanka. So this in Hindu mythology, this bridge, the Ram Setu, Rama's bridge, is a part of this story, right? It's the bridge that Rama and Lakshman and Hanuman went across in order to save the beautiful Princess Sita. Um, the Ramayana is one of the two major Hindu Sanskrit epics. It's you can't understate the importance of it in India today. It's if you go to India, it's absolutely all over the place. The Ramayana has also been sort of resurrected in sort of modern political life in India. And if you follow Narendra Modi, who's the Prime Minister of India, he's often likened to being Ram and a great warrior and representative of India. And last year, on the demolished ruins of the mosque that was said to be built over the tomb of Seth. The Indian government constructed this new temple to Ram because they claim that this very place, the very place of Seth, was the place of Rama's birth, actually in the city of Ayodhya. So this is a kind of politically hot topic in India today. It's something, the Ramayana is something that I know about. It was the subject of my last book, actually, the Ramayana in Sri Lanka. Um, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it in this very abbreviated class. You're welcome to learn about it on your own or ask me questions about it in office hours. The Hindu epic that I want to focus on is actually the other one, not the Ramayana, but the Mahabharata, an even longer Sanskrit epic. This one featuring the eighth avatar incarnation of Vishnu as Krishna, who is a friend of the five good guy brothers, the five Pandavas, who are the protagonists of the Mahabharata. The entire Mahabharata is really, really long. It's longer than the Bible and the complete works of Shakespeare combined. This is how big it is in the library in the original Sanskrit. It's really, really long. It's kind of an encyclopedia of Hindu lore. So in addition to the core story, it has accounts of all of the major gods and really sort of most of the main narratives about the lives of the gods that you have to know as a Hindu. So it's very encyclopedic in its scope. The central story has to do with the contest for the throne of India between two sets of cousins. The five Pandava brothers, who are the sons of King Pandu, and the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra. So Pandu and Dhritarashtra are brothers, and Dhritarashtra was the eldest brother and was therefore ordinarily the heir to the throne, but he was blind from birth, congenitally blind. So he was passed over for kingship by his father for the second son, Pandu. So Pandu inherits the throne of India. His five sons, who are known as the Pandavas, are then heirs to the throne after him. But because Pandu is actually the younger brother of Dhritarashtra, the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, the Kauravas, never forgot it. They always had this huge chip on their shoulder against their five cousins, the sons of Pandu, because they thought that really they should have been the ones to inherit India. So there's always this antagonism between the eldest of the five Pandava brothers, the heir presumptive of India, this guy named Yudhishthira, and the eldest of the 100 Kauravas, Duryodhana. So the Yudhishthira was otherwise a very righteous and morally upright person, but he had this sort of one vice that Duryodhana was able to capitalize on. Yudhishthira was very fond of gambling and specifically playing dice. So you can think about it as like, I don't know, craps in ancient India. And one time, slightly before the Pandavas probably would have ascended to the throne, Duryodhana invites Yudhishthira to an all-night dice game. And Yudhishthira can't resist. And Duryodhana, of course, has the dice rigged, right? They're like magically weighted die. So Yudhishthira is never actually going to win. But he goes and he starts playing, right? He starts playing larger and larger amounts of money, and he keeps losing. He keeps going double or nothing. He says, okay, well, I'm going to gamble away the kingdom, which is going to be mine, right? And so he says, if I lose, you can be the king instead. So of course he loses. He says, okay, well, I'm going to gamble the freedom of myself and my four brothers, and if I lose, then we'll be your servants and we'll do whatever you want. And of course, he loses, and then he says, "Okay, well, I'll gamble away my wife also." So he gambles away the freedom of his wife, Draupadi, and loses everything. Um, the I'll put a link in the description to a documentary about the Ramayana sorry, the Mahabharata that I show in class. You're welcome to watch it. We don't have time to review the whole thing. It's a very long story. The reason that I'm focusing on the Mahabharata is because this very short portion of it, just this one chapter called the Bhagavad Gita, is a very important Hindu theological work. And the Bhagavad Gita is set at the eve of this great battle between the five Pandava brothers and the 100 Kauravas. So this is after Yudhishthira, his four brothers, and his wife have had to go into exile for 14 years. And this was the conditions of them giving up their freedom. They have to go into exile, and it's not until they return that they will once again be eligible to reclaim the throne. So this is the sort of deal in arbitration after Yudhishthira loses the dice game that they work out. And once their period of exile is up and they come back to reclaim the throne, of course, Duryodhana and the Kauravas don't actually want to give up the kingdom, right? So they have to then fight for it. So it's the five Pandava brothers, their army, those in the kingdom who are loyal to them, and the 100 Kauravas, those in the kingdom who are loyal to the Kauravas. The setting of the Bhagavad Gita is on the eve of this great battle for the throne of India and features as its main characters Arjun, who is the middle of the five Pandava brothers. He's the third oldest, and their family friend Krishna, who is the chariot driver of Arjuna. Arjuna is a warrior, and his specialty is archery. So he's like the greatest archer of the Pandava army. And the context of the poem is that Arjun is looking out on this battlefield that he's going to have to go fight on the next morning. And he's thinking about all the people that he might kill, his cousins, his friends, people who grew up with, people he still loves. And he tells Krishna, I don't want to fight. I don't want to do it. Why should I do this? This could be, I don't want to go and kill people. This could be ruinous for the kingdom. This could be ruinous for India. This is stupid. I'm not going to do it. And the story of the Gita is Krishna giving a series of reasons as to why he actually should go out and fight in the battle the next day. So this is the context of the Gita. It's sometimes called the Hindu Bible. That is not correct. It is a very important Hindu holy book. For the sake of bar trivia answers, if the question comes up in pub trivia, what is the Hindu Bible? Just say the Bhagavad Gita. It's, of course, very important to know about, but it's not actually the Hindu Bible. But it is a very important text. So that's why we're taking the time to talk about it. The punchline to all of this, of course, is that Krishna himself is an incarnation of God. So this is really God who is talking to Arjun. He doesn't realize it at first, but Krishna is Vishnu incarnate, right? It's one of the numerous avatars or incarnations that Krishna takes in order to intervene during times of upheaval and human need, right? So he reveals this to Arjun in the course of the dialogue, and he begins sort of with kind of simple theological arguments for why Arjun should go out and fight. He appeals to Arjun, reminding him that the body is just our mortal coil, but what's really important, the essence of who we are, is the soul, the Atman, which Krishna reminds Arjun is immortal. It's something that survives after death, right? As a person sheds worn out garments and wears new ones, just so at the time of death, the soul casts off its worn out body and enters a new one. So this is kind of his fear not argument to Arjun. If you die tomorrow in battle, it doesn't matter. You're going to be reborn again, right? And the whole logic of karma also is that if you die doing what you should be doing and acquiring positive karma, then your rebirth is going to be a nice one. You're going to have a fortuitous rebirth, right? This is, of course, only comforting if you believe in the soul, right? And Krishna goes on, to also make this kind of pragmatic argument to Arjun, saying, "Well, you're a warrior, right?" Krishna, this is Krishna addressing Arjuna. Arjuna, you belong to the Kshatriyan, the noble, aristocratic warrior king class, and this is your duty, right? You're born into this social role. And what would society be if we didn't have people who performed their assigned social duty, right? So this is your duty as a warrior, right? And you're supposed to be loyal to your family and loyal to the law of the land, which you are abiding by. And just so if the Shudras, the blue collar people didn't do what they were supposed to do, and the merchants and bankers and grocers didn't do what they were supposed to do, and lawyers didn't do what they were supposed to do, we wouldn't have a society at all, right? So he's making this kind of argument for social preservation, reminding Arjun that dharma, in the sense of social duty, is something that applies to all of us. We each have our own swadharma, or personal duty, personal dharma. Um, right. So he goes on in this way. And then he starts to make some arguments which are a little bit more philosophically interesting. He says that, okay, well, I'm not going to make a guarantee that you're going to be successful in battle tomorrow, even that you're going to survive. So Krishna refuses to make this guarantee. But he says that you have this dharma, this social duty as a Kshatriyan warrior to go out and fight and defend your family's right to the throne. And you can do this in a way that is still a kind of spiritual practice. You can go out tomorrow on the battlefield and just every moment be thinking, I'm doing this for the sake of Dharma. I'm doing this for the sake of duty, without thinking about anything that's going to happen to you personally, good or bad, right? This is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. He's saying, you can go out in the battlefield and without any expectation that, oh, I might win and then we're going to get all the riches of the kingdom back. Maybe one day I can even be king, or without any fear that, oh, I might be killed, I might be injured, I might lose a limb, my life is going to be so terrible. If you can go out and just every moment be shooting your arrows and thinking, I'm doing this for Dharma, this is my Dharma, this is my Dharma, then that itself is a kind of egoless practice, right? It is, in fact, what Krishna refers to as a kind of yoga. Now, yoga we ordinarily think of as being postural yoga, the kind of yoga that you do in a yoga studio, and you go and you do downward facing dog and you do headstands. But the basic meaning of yoga is simply to yoke oneself, to yoke one's body, mind, breath, and discipline. A yoke is something that goes around like an oxen or a horse to hitch up a cart, right? Yoga is historically related to the English word yoke. So yoga in this very basic sense is a kind of discipline, a way of restraining, disciplining, yoking the mind, right? And yoking the ego being these thoughts about future stuff, good or bad, that's going to happen to us, right? Thinking, oh my gosh, this is all about me. This is all about my victory. This is all about my glory. That's all egoism. Thinking, I'm doing this simply because it's my duty, my duty, my duty is a way Krishna is saying, really, of facing the ego. I mean, you think about the speeches that athletes give when they win a game, right? Or that someone gives at the Grammys when they win a medal. What do they say? They say, well, this isn't all about, I didn't do this, right? My team did it, or God did it, right? So this is a kind of gesture of humility. This is really what Krishna is prescribing to Arjuna. And I'm going to talk more about this in the next recorded lesson. But the idea that you can live an egoless spiritual life, that yoga, that religious discipline can be something that you do even when you're literally shooting arrows at people and killing people, is one end of the kind of spectrum of ideas about the possibility of living a religious life that you find in Hinduism, right? So there is this kind of spectrum between people who are able to be religious egoless, who are still engaged in worldly life, right? Who still have their family, who still have jobs where they make money, who are still, in the case of Arjun, even engaged in violence, right? In state violence. Um, Krishna is saying that this is one possible path to still being religious and egoless. The other end of the path is going to be the path of renunciation, or people who give up worldly life entirely, who give up their money and family and any sort of status in normal society. But this path, what Krishna refers to as karma yoga, or the discipline of action, is the path that he is prescribing for Arjuna. Arjuna is someone who's committed to his life as a warrior, and Krishna is saying, hey, don't worry, you can still live a religious, egoless life if, when you're doing all of these things, when you're doing your duty as a warrior, you're concentrating on the fact that you're doing it because it's this socially prescribed and morally correct thing to do, not because you're thinking about what you might get out of it. In class, when we do this, I ask if anyone's seen the movie Groundhog's Day, and the way that Bill Murray ends up, his character ends up at the end of the movie, right, when he's living the same day over and over again, and he's stuck in this time loop for 26 years, and finally he's just like content to live his day, just abiding presently in every moment, being like, okay, I'm being the best guy I can be. I'm being the best guy I can be. I'm being the best guy I can be. This is the only way that he's able to really to psychologically endure the time loop of Groundhog's Day. But he does figure it out by the end, and that kind of attitude, I think, is what Krishna is prescribing for Arjuna here. Um, None of this quite works. None of these arguments quite convince Arjun that he should go and get into the fray the next day. The real trump card argument comes in chapters 10 and 11 of the Gita, when Krishna reveals his Vishvarupa, his cosmic form, to Arjun. So he literally opens up his body and shows the entire universe revolving within him. So Krishna is like, look, I'm the universe. He opens up himself and he shows that everything in the cosmos is contained within him. He says, look, you know those other gods, Shiva, Brahma? Look, they're in me. They're all a part of me. This is the section in the Gita when he says, behold, I have become death, destroyer of worlds, that Robert Oppenheimer famously is said to have quoted when he saw the first nuclear bomb test. He was a big fan of Asian religions. Um, so this is, and okay, this is hard to argue with this, right? That God is saying, look, I am everything. He says that everything that is going to happen tomorrow, I have already decided beforehand. I have preordained all of this, right? So don't think, Arjuna, that there's anything that you are going to do tomorrow, that there's any agency, any intervention that you're going to have that is going to change the outcome of this. Just do what I'm saying. I'm saying you're a warrior, go out and fight tomorrow. And the most sort of as if that's not all shocking enough, the most mystical thing that Krishna tells Arjuna is that when he's listing all of the things that he is, which is everything in the universe, he says, among the descendants of Rishi, I am Krishna, and among the Pandavas, I am you, O Arjuna. I am you. This is Krishna gesturing to this theological idea that the world that we experience is nothing but the dream of Vishnu. That, in sort of like Matrix style, if you've seen the movie The Matrix, that all of this stuff that's going on is really a projection of the cosmic dream, the imagination of Vishnu. And he's represented as lying asleep on the cosmic ocean, sleeping on this giant serpent. And very often the god Brahma is seen sitting in lotus posture on the top of this flower that's growing out of the belly button of Vishnu. And this is an image of Brahma projecting, making solid the world that we're all inhabiting, which is a projection of Vishnu's dream. So Vishnu is kind of like the software, and Brahma is kind of like the hardware and the VR goggles. Um, it's a very trippy idea, of course, right? It's what you would call philosophical idealism, or the idea that everything that we're experiencing is really just uh, a hologram projected by the mind of God. And also very difficult because what does this mean about our own individual agency? What does this mean about the idea that each of us have some sort of free will? I mean, the suggestion in the Gita is that, we don't. That the very notion that we have some sort of free will is an illusion. Um, this is also, by the way, a theological problem in Christianity too. If God created us and God created the world, how much freedom do we have? Um, I'll leave that aside if maybe someone wants to write a final paper about it. But this is the very sort of profound thing that Krishna, Vishnu incarnate, is saying to Arjun. It's also kind of strange because we have a case in which God seems to be having conversation with himself, right? If Arjun is nothing but Krishna, and they are nothing but projections of the dream of Vishnu, then isn't this God talking to himself? Does God ever talk to himself in the Bible? There is, this one passage in Matthew when Jesus is on the cross and he asks, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" Um, who's he talking to, right? Um, so, I mean, and there's also the question of, okay, well, if God is responsible for everything that's happening, is God responsible for the bad stuff too? This is a problem for any theistic religion, Christianity, Hinduism. I mean, God created all of this, right? So, and God is good. So why is there bad stuff in the world? This is the problem of theodicy, the question of why there is evil in the world. And this is also something that theologians have to grapple with, Christian and Hindu. I will also just point out that different theologians come to different ways of reconciling this. I mean, there is this mysterious passage in the Hebrew Bible in Isaiah where God says, "Yeah, I form the light, I create darkness, I make peace, I create evil, I, the Lord, do all these things." Right. So this, seems to make God responsible. This is God taking responsibility for the good things and the bad. But this is all kind of comes down to this fundamental theological problem of if we want God to be omnibenevolent, all good, omniscient, all knowing, and omnipotent, all powerful, how do we reconcile those attributes together in terms of the world that we know? How is it that an all powerful, all good, all knowing God created this world, right? Um, so, yeah, you'll have to take my God debate class to have a group discussion and a more thorough deep dive into this. But these are the contents of the Gita. I mean, this is my sort of whirlwind tour of the Gita, things that you should take away from it. The three paths, the three forms of discipline that Krishna mentions are each very distinct and forms of religious practice that Krishna prescribes to people with different sorts of personalities. So, because Arjun is a carpe diem, seize the day, very active person who's very committed to his worldly life as a warrior, Krishna tells him, all right, well, your duty is as a warrior. You got to go out and fight. And if you can do this in a way that is egolessly yoked to dharma and social duty, you can still do this in a way that's spiritually redeeming, right? For people who are more introverted and less committed to worldly life and who are happy to spend more time in the library or the monastery or out in the woods meditating, Krishna prescribes jnana yoga, or the path of knowledge, or the path of spiritual discovery through inner contemplation. Right. So this is kind of the renouncer, the less social path that Krishna prescribes. And for ordinary people, for most people, Krishna prescribes the path of devotion, bhakti yoga. This is really the idea of devoting everything that you do in your daily life, of course, religious things like prayers or going to the temple or going on pilgrimage, but even other things that you do, everything from like driving to work in the morning, right, to cooking a meal for your family and saying like, I'm doing this with Krishna in mind. I'm doing this because it's the path that God wants me to be on. It's the thing that God wants me to do. Living your life thinking about the God you're devoted to being present and participating along with you in your daily life. So, the idea that I guess the idea, right? Evangelical Christians will sometimes say, how do I know that Jesus is real? Well, because I talked to him this morning. This is a kind of like Christian bhakti, Christian devotionalism. So, Vaishnava devotionalists will say, well, how do I know that Krishna is real? Well, because he was there driving to work with me this morning, right? Um, so that kind of idea is the God of being an active participant in your life, someone that you can have a conversation with, someone that you can celebrate life alongside, is what Bhakti Yoga devotion is essentially all about. Devoting every sort of moment and intention of your life to the God, with the idea that the God is there present and responsive to what you're doing. So this has been a very quick introduction to the basics of Hinduism. There's, of course, a lot more to discuss, but this will also give you a foundation to understand the next two big religions that we're going to discuss that are really offshoots of Hinduism. These are Jainism and Buddhism.